now done with the training procedure. Let's recap. We set up the environment, we implemented the policy network, we then implemented the reinforce algorithm that allowed us to train the agent. Lastly, we trained the agent. Now the agent has been trained, we can use it in prediction mode. So let's go ahead and have a look at the fifth section. So in this section, we're going to create an instance of the reinforce agent, but this time in predicting mode. We then are going to generate 10 test episodes and plot the agent's portfolio value each time steps against a balanced portfolio. And last, what we're going to do is plot all of these testing episodes and the portfolio value along the way. And we're going to see how the balanced portfolio versus the reinforced agent portfolio are doing. Let's go ahead and run the code for each of the cells in this section. I'm just going to execute each of them. After the third one, I've created my instance in predicting mode. Now, what we're going to do, as mentioned, is we're going to run 10 episodes, testing episodes to be precise, and for each of them, we're logging the balanced portfolio values and the reinforced agent portfolio values. And lastly, we're going to plot them. So if we execute this coding cell, we wait a couple of seconds, and these are the graphs that we're getting. We have 10 because there are 10 testing episodes. Generally speaking, what we're seeing is that the blue line represents the portfolio value rendered by the agent, and the orange one is the balanced portfolio. On average, it seems like the agent is performing better because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times out of 10, it performed better than the balanced portfolio. However, one thing that we do see is that it's also a lot more volatile. So there are a couple of solutions to avoid having an agent that takes very risky behaviors, and that's going to be in the exercise section. I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions if you want to try them out and see if it improves the risk-taking behavior of the agent. One thing we can do if we want to understand the behavior of the reinforced agent is to plot its prediction at each time step. So have a look at the portfolio allocation for one example episode, and this is going to shed some light on the behavior that is happening behind the scenes. So if we go ahead to the last coding section, we can execute it. And then we see that we get this plot. There are 16 plots in total. Why 16? Because we have 16 assets. And what we're seeing is that the agent chooses to not invest in 12 of them. As you can see, the blue line at the bottom is always at 0. So we're not investing in 12 of the assets, and we're focusing, or the agent is focusing its investing strategy on 4 of the assets. And if you run multiple examples, you're going to see that this is happening most of the time. So if we look at which assets it's choosing, most of the time it's choosing the natural gas futures, the US wheat futures, the Nikkei, the crude oil futures. These happen to be high return assets. So it's not surprising. We're asking the agent to learn to maximize the returns, so it's selecting the assets that have the better returns. And this is not surprising at all. However, one thing that we can notice is that the amount or the weight that is allocated to each of those assets seems to be going up and down from 0 to 1 at almost every time step. Rarely is it going to invest a small portion in the assets. It's all or nothing. This is not really good because for one reason in particular, it increases the transaction costs. The more variance there is from one day to the other in terms of portfolio allocation, the higher the transaction costs are going to be. This is again something that we could fix or try to fix, and I'm going to leave it in the exercise section. I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions that you can try and see if it works.